bases to Chinese operatives. And the numbers show that such cases are becoming common in Taiwan. Last year alone, Taiwan prosecuted 64 people for spying for Beijing. A vast majority, two-thirds, were either serving or retired military personnel. As per reports, espionage cases in Taiwan have quadrupled over the past 4 years. According to reports, between January 2022 and June 2024, Beijing attempted to recruit Taiwanese officers and soldiers online, and that's over 1,700 times, reaching them through online gaming platforms or social media. Well, according to reports, some recruited soldiers have recorded surrender videos. In these clips, the soldiers wear Taiwanese military uniforms, stand next to Chinese flags, and pledge not to fight in a war. Others have reportedly pledged loyalty to China, effectively agreeing to switch sides if conflict erupts. As per reports, these videos have not surfaced publicly yet, but experts believe that China is stockpiling them, waiting for the right moment to use them in an information war, convincing the Taiwanese public that their own military is not loyal. So how does China convince Taiwan soldiers and officers to betray their own country? According to reports, Beijing focused on retired officers, particularly those with nationalist leanings. Many of them have fled mainland China generations ago and opposed Taiwan's independence. While Chinese agents reportedly played on this resentment, befriending them during family visits or business trips, then slowly gaining their trust through meals and games of golf. But now, China is shifting its focus to younger targets. A top Taiwanese prosecutor handling national security cases told The Economist that many of these recruits are deeply in debt. Some turn to online gambling. Others seek loans from informal lenders, many of whom have links to Taiwan's organized crime networks and religious temple groups. So these middlemen act as mediators for Chinese intelligence, offering quick cash for seemingly harmless favors. Well, according to reports, it all starts with small amount. A soldier might get paid $6,000 just to take a picture of a bathroom inside a military base or record a simple anti-war message. But once they take that first payment, they take that first step, the pressure then escalates. Agents demand more, such as maps, deployment details, or classified documents. And within a short time, they get trapped in the bait. Recruits are reportedly told that Beijing already knows everything about their movements and deployment orders. Agents are then given an offer that war is coming, and if they cooperate, their families will be safe. Some soldiers get terrified and they agree. One recent case involved a Taiwanese lieutenant who made a deal with China in exchange for Thai passports for his family on the condition that if a war between China and Taiwan breaks, he would stay and serve, but his wife and children would flee immediately. Now, Taiwan is trying to fight this back. Taiwanese officials reportedly credit internal reporting for uncovering most espionage cases. According to Taiwan's defense ministry, it is a sign that counterintelligence training is making a difference. Courts are also issuing harsher penalties, hoping to deter future traitors. But according to reports, China is using these very cases as propaganda, deepening Taiwan's internal divisions. Like we told you earlier, this is not just espionage. It's a full-scale infiltration designed to weaken Taiwan's military from within. As China intensifies its efforts, Taiwan faces a challenge, not just from the outside, but also from within.
Right, moving on, the tensions between China and Taiwan have been escalating. China has made no secret of its desire to invade Taiwan, which it may do by cutting off supplies and imposing a blockade on the self-governing island. Taiwan claims it has detected 8 Chinese aircraft, 5 naval vessels, and 1 official ship operating around the island. Among them, 6 aircraft allegedly crossed the median line and entered Taiwan's southwestern air defense identification zone. Now, apart from military pressure, Taiwan is facing a diplomatic dilemma. Now, South Africa has demanded Taiwan to relocate the island's de facto embassy to depart Pretoria by the end of March. It has cited Chinese pressure as the reason for the action. Now, amid China's growing aggression, Taipei has welcomed dialogue with Beijing instead of confrontation. Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te has said that both the countries need to talk to each other to achieve peace given the multifold changes in the international situation. But China has not responded to Taiwan's request so far. Now, China says Taiwan must accept that the two sides of the strait are part of one China, something Lai and his government have refused to do. Both China and Taiwan are facing massive pressure from the new administration of U.S. President Donald Trump. He has imposed tariffs on China and has threatened similar measures against imported semiconductors, a sector Taiwan dominates.
Taiwan claims it has detected 14 Chinese People's Liberation Army aircraft and 5 naval vessels operating around Taiwan on Wednesday. Among them, 12 of the aircraft crossed the median line and entered Taiwan's northern, southwestern and eastern air defense identification zone. On Tuesday, Taiwan detected 9 Chinese aircraft and 6 vessels around its territory. This assumes significance after Tuesday's Xi Jinping and Putin held talks where Xi told Putin about a call with Trump on TikTok, trade and Taiwan. In recent weeks, China has been boosting its ability to invade Taiwanese beaches with innovative new naval equipment. This includes the formal launch of an enormous landing helicopter assault vessel, the likes of which no other navy in the world possesses, and the mass production of floating bridge decks to assist the unloading of ships during beach landings. The Taiwan-China issue is a complex and long-standing geopolitical conflict centered on Taiwan's sovereignty. Taiwan, officially known as the Republic of China, operates its own government, military and economy, functioning as a de facto independent state. However, China considers Taiwan a breakaway province and insists on the one China policy, which asserts that there is only one China, with Beijing at its capital. Beijing has consistently expressed its goal of reunification with Taiwan using diplomatic, economic, and even military pressure to isolate Taiwan internationally. Meanwhile, Taiwan, supported by a significant portion of its population, continues to maintain its independence. And for the latest, TVBS reporter Vivian Xiao has sent us this report from Taipei.
China plans to launch a carrier rocket from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center on Thursday. Authorities didn't provide much information on the type of satellite that could be deployed and for what purpose, but the rocket will be similar to the one launched earlier this month, a Long March 3B rocket. The rocket's trajectory is expected to pass over Taiwan's self-declared air defense identification zone, heightening concerns about security and regional stability. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense stated earlier today that it is committed to maintaining peace and security, urging vigilance as Chinese military activity increases in the Taiwan Strait. On Wednesday, the MND reported detecting 14 Chinese aircraft flights over the past 24 hours. 12 aircraft crossed the median line into Taiwan's northern, southwestern, and eastern airspace, while 5 Chinese vessels operated nearby. The Taiwanese military responded by deploying mission aircraft, ships, and land-based missile systems to monitor the situation, ensuring the security of the Taiwan Strait. These activities mark the largest number of incursions in recent days since January 17th, when 14 aircraft and 6 vessels were detected near Taiwan. This is Vivian Xiao in Taipei for TVBS World Taiwan.
Now, the tensions between China and Taiwan have been escalating. China has made no secret of its desire to invade Taiwan, which it may do by cutting off supplies and imposing a blockade on the self-governing island. Taiwan claims it has detected 8 Chinese aircraft, 5 naval vessels and 1 official ship operating around the island. Among them, 6 aircraft allegedly crossed the median line and entered Taiwan's northwestern air defense identification zone. Apart from military pressure, Taiwan is facing a diplomatic dilemma. South Africa has demanded Taiwan to relocate the island's de facto embassy to depart Pretoria by the end of March. It has cited Chinese pressure as the reason for the action. Amid China's growing aggression, Taipei has welcomed dialogue with Beijing instead of confrontation. Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te says both the countries need to talk to each other to achieve peace given the multifold changes in the international situation. But China has not responded to Taiwan's request so far. China says Taiwan must accept that the 2 sides of the strait are part of one China, something Lai and his government have refused to do. Both China and Taiwan are facing massive pressure from the new administration of US President Donald Trump. He's imposed tariffs on China and has threatened similar measures against imported semiconductors and a sector Taiwan dominates.
We now shift our attention to the Taiwan Strait, where both America and China are flexing their naval might. Earlier today, China ramped up military operations near Taiwan, deploying warships and fighter jets for what it termed as combat readiness patrols and training exercises. The move showcased in China's state broadcaster showed Chinese naval vessels maneuvering at sea while the Chinese warplanes roared into the sky. A clear message of deterrence aimed at Taiwan and its allies. This show of force follows the passage of 2 U.S. Navy vessels through the Taiwan Strait earlier this week, the first such maneuver since U.S. President Donald Trump took office last month. China called the transit a provocation that heightened security risks. The Chinese Foreign Ministry dismissed the U.S. naval mission as an excuse to undermine China's security under the pretext of freedom of navigation.
The Eastern Theater Command of the Chinese People's Liberation Army has already responded, and I would like to emphasize that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory, and that the question of Taiwan is not a matter of freedom of navigation, but a matter of China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. China firmly opposes any country provoking and threatening China's sovereignty and security in the name of freedom of navigation.
China's military says it tracked the movements of the U.S. warships, specifically a naval destroyer and a survey ship, as they moved through the Taiwan Strait between Monday and Wednesday. The PLA's Eastern Theater Command accused Washington of sending, and I'm quoting here, wrong signals to Taiwan and warned that such actions only escalates regional tensions. According to reports, the U.S. carries out such navigation operations along the Taiwan Strait on a daily basis, sometimes joined by allied forces as well. But this was the first such exercise since Trump returned to the White House. The strategic 180-kilometer wide Taiwan Strait is a crucial global shipping lane. China insists it falls under its jurisdiction, contradicting global maritime law, which limits territorial waters to 22 kilometers from a nation's coastline. Meanwhile, Taiwan remains on a high alert, its defense ministry closely monitoring China's military movements and assured the public that the situation remained stable and under control right now. While these maritime standoffs continue, Taiwan is also taking steps to strengthen its defenses. Taipei has secured a $761 million weapons deal with Washington, purchasing 3 national advanced surface-to-air missile systems. These missile systems will reportedly enhance Taiwan's ability to defend itself against a potential Chinese invasion or a Chinese assault. Meanwhile, Chinese scientists claim to have made a breakthrough in infrared detection technology that could expose a major weakness in U.S. stealth aircraft. Well, according to Chinese researchers, an airship equipped with advanced infrared detection could identify stealth fighters like America's F-35 at distances of nearly 2,000 kilometers, which could give China a major advantage in countering U.S. military operations in the region, and aligns with China's broader strategy of manufacturing arsenal designed to keep U.S. forces at bay in the event of a conflict. According to reports, in simulated combat scenarios, Chinese researchers analyzed the infrared signatures of F-35 jets, specifically in engagements involving Taiwan. The findings reportedly suggest that American stealth technology, long considered an edge in modern warfare, may not be as indestructible as previously thought. So the military maneuvers by China and the US, Taiwan's growing defense partnerships with the US, and emerging advancements in military technology, they all point to tensions in the Taiwan Strait only growing further.
Taiwan's military has been struggling with personnel shortage, which is raising concerns about the nation's defense capabilities. According to data from the Defense Ministry, the number of volunteer soldiers and officers seeking early discharge has increased significantly over the past few years. In 2020, 401 personnel applied for early discharge, but by last year, that number had risen to 1,565. The staffing ratio, which measures the number of available positions that have been filled, has also declined. In 2020, the staffing ratio stood at 88.57%, but by 2024, it had dropped to 78.6%. This is below the minimum operational standard of 85%. This downward trend is also reflected in the number of military academy graduates seeking early discharge. In 2020, 110 graduates applied for early discharge, but by 2024, that number had more than doubled to 234. The shortage has been attributed to the combination of factors, including Taiwan's declining birth rate, a competitive job market, insufficient benefits and incentives, and even rising tensions with China. In a bid to address the personnel shortage, Taiwan's Defense Ministry has proposed a range of measures, including relaxing management policies, easing recruitment restrictions, and salary increases. Now, according to Taiwan's Defense Ministry's statistics, there has been a steady decline in the number of voluntary military personnel after peaking at over 164,884 at the end of 2021. The number significantly dropped in the last 3 years to 152,885 as of June 2024. This has raised concerns about Taiwan's military capabilities despite U.S. assistance.
And we are starting off this edition with some breaking news coming in from the Democratic Republic of Congo. 51 people have been killed in the northeastern part. A militia called Cooperative for the Development of Congo reportedly carried out the attack that killed 51 people. According to reports coming in, mostly displaced people in the northeastern province of Ituri have been killed. Humanitarian groups, meanwhile, saying that many more are feared dead. Eyewitness accounts revealing that 43 huts have been set ablaze in the region and other victims have been reportedly burnt in these huts. The militia hails from the Lendu ethnic group, Codeco, or the Cooperative for the Development of Congo group was earlier a peaceful agricultural cooperative. Over time, it transformed into an armed rebel movement. The deadly attack coming at a time when the Central African nation already faces unrest and volatility. The M23 rebels, backed by Rwanda, are simultaneously engaged in a gunfight with Congolese armed forces. And fighting between the two sides resumed early in the day, after a lull for 2 days. So far, the violence has killed over 700 people and displaced thousands, especially from the city of Goma.
To U.S. activity in the Taiwan Strait, Beijing deployed its naval and air force around Taiwan for combat readiness patrols and training missions. Chinese media released a video showing its Eastern Theater Command conducting naval and air drills around Taiwan.
While performing combat readiness and alert missions, we always maintain a state of readiness with arrows on the string and ammunition fully loaded. Our weapon systems are also in launch-ready status, prepared to fire at any moment.
Chinese Foreign Ministry opposed the U.S. presence around Taiwan, claiming the U.S. can't threaten its sovereignty in name of navigation freedom.
The Eastern Theater Command of the Chinese People's Liberation Army has already responded, and I would like to emphasize that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory, and that the question of Taiwan is not a matter of freedom of navigation, but a matter of China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. China firmly opposes any country provoking and threatening China's sovereignty and security in the name of freedom of navigation.
The military drills were held after 2 U.S. Navy ships sailed through the sensitive Taiwan Strait this week. Taiwan's defense ministry said its forces had also kept watch, but noted the situation was as normal. This marks the first U.S. mission after President Donald Trump took office last month. The U.S. Navy, occasionally accompanied by ships from allied countries, transits the strait about once a month. China, which claims Taiwan as its own territory, says the strategic waterway belongs to it.
We now shift our attention to China's silent spy infiltration into Taiwan's armed forces. And this is not just about espionage. It is a systematic effort by China to weaken Taiwan from within. Let's first start with retired Taiwanese General Cao An-kao. In 2021, Cao made a video dressed in camouflage, urging Taiwan's military to overthrow its government. He reportedly called the ruling Democratic Progressive Party a group of ethnic traitors and accused them of selling out to the US. At that time, many dismissed him as an aging hardliner with no influence. But fast forward to today. Cao faces serious charges of military espionage. Prosecutors say that he was not just speaking out. It turns out he was actively working with China, forming an armed group to support a Chinese invasion. His network used drones to monitor military drills, sent training reports to Chinese officials, and even sought to recruit more insiders. And this is not an isolated incident. Just last month, another group of former officers were accused of leaking intelligence, such as maps and photos of American diplomatic sites and military bases to Chinese operatives. And the numbers show that such cases are becoming common in Taiwan. Last year alone, Taiwan prosecutors